All this agenda for the regular council meeting of March the 22nd, 2022 be adopted. Mover?
Henry Siemens.
Marvin.
Thank you. Any additions? Hearing none. All in favor of the agenda? And that is carried. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of March the 8th, 2022 be adopted. Mover?
Don.
Thanks, Don. And the seconder?
Karina.
Karina, thank you. Any corrections or errors or omissions from those minutes? Hearing none. All in favor? And that is carried. Next, we have correspondence. We have a letter here from the Manitoba Agricultural Hall of Fame. We are members of that group and primarily recognizing the impact that agriculture plays in our region and to our economy. So we have decided that we're going to continue to be there to support them. But this event is simply to recognize those who have made extraordinary contributions to agriculture. Just for your information. Then we have a letter here from the Province of Manitoba Education Department, and it indicates the fact that we are responsible to basically collect the taxes and remit them. And then we have a education support notice of tax requirements. And I said to the guys the other day, actually, I think this is the first time I've ever seen this in print come from the province in the last 16 years. So they're informing us that $11,056,000 and $301 is what we need to send to them for education out of the Garden Valley School Division. So it's neat to put it in round numbers, but it's for information only. We are not here to vote on that. It's not our place. Although the probably school division wish we could. Okay, any other questions regarding those? All right, moving on. Be it resolved that the accounts payable in the amount of $998,067.66 as approved by the Finance Committee be approved for payment. Mover?
Henry Siemens.
And a seconder?
Andrew?
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And any questions in regards to the check register? You can see where it's all gone. Hearing none. All in favor? And that is carried. Bylaw, be it resolved that a bylaw number 2281-22 for the campaign expenses and contributions be read a first time. Mover?
Marvin.
You guys can have it.
Okay. Don and Marvin? Okay, thank you. Any questions regarding that?
Maybe just by way of explanation, Jody, explain what exactly we're looking at here.
So this one's very simple in this case. We haven't changed the per capita amount for the expense limit. Essentially, we're updating the bylaw to reflect some of the newer dates for the deadlines and so forth. And this is one of the bylaws that the Act requires us to have in place, in this case this year, by the end of April.
Okay, and the amount here, if you're running for mayor, it's 50 cents per...
75.
Sorry, 75 cents per capita. And if you're running for council, it's 35 cents per capita.
That's right.
And because of the changes in our census, which is now 13,745,
Correct.
so you can figure out how much money you can spend. Don't spend it all in one place. All right, any other questions regarding that? Hearing none. Be it resolved that Boundary Trails Health Center Foundation meeting minutes for January 24th meeting be received for information. Mover?
Marvin.
Seconder?
Karina.
And any questions? All in favor?
I think you missed 5.3.
Yep, I just missed it here. I got it back.
He saw
Be it
the
resolved that
glasses.
bylaw number 2282-22 for use of municipal resources in an election be read a first time. Mover?
Michael.
Seconder?
Karina.
And Jody will ask you to just to explain that one a little bit.
So this is a new bylaw that the act requires every municipality to put in place. Came as a little bit of a surprise. I don't think there was much talk about it ahead of time. And at a recent call with the province, municipalities had a chance to look at it. This was just 2 weeks ago, I believe. And so this is something that has to be in place again by the end of April of an election year. And it is in effect during the campaign period, so the 42 days prior to the election. And it is meant to just control the resources that are used and the communication that can be used during that campaign period. So it's
City resources.
city
Right.
resources, that's right. And so municipal resources, and in particular, when it comes to communication for incumbents who would be running for election again.
And it also includes facilities and whatever.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions regarding that? No? Okay. And there will be some special candidate meetings that will be coming up with explanation of what you can and you can't do and what your responsibilities are and aren't.
Correct,
so-
we're planning a meeting, probably we haven't nailed down a date, but probably in June, that we will host for potential candidates running for council.
Yeah, my understanding, that's a regional meeting, or potentially.
Potentially could be with Arm Stanley, not 100%
Okay.
resolved yet.
Hearing nothing else, be it resolved that the planning committee meeting minutes for March the 10th, 22 be adopted. Mover,
Henry Simmons.
seconder.
Don?
Thank you. Any questions regarding those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? And that is carried.
Sorry, did we have the motion on the
We didn't.
bylaw?
Oh dear.
I think
I'd be
we-
happy to put that forward.
Okay.
There you go.
Moved by Karina, seconder.
Don?
Don, all in favor? That's carried. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Be it resolved that the MSTW Planning District meeting minutes for February 16th, 2022 meeting and reports for February 2022 be received for information. Mover,
Don?
seconder.
Andrew?
Any comments from either one of you?
It's been very, very steady. A lot busier than last time this year. We had we had Morden is doing a $4 million restoration on their schools. So that's a big boost for our district.
And so then the new school isn't included in this
No,
number? yet.
no,
That's
this is just
come.
upgrades.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, I mean, those upgrades happened at Wes last year, so
Yep.
it's nice to see them upgrade some of the facilities that are there.
Mhm.
All right. Next one, be it resolved that bylaw number 2204-18, vehicle for hire bylaw be given a second reading to adjust Schedule B. Mover?
Andrew?
Andrew and Marvin, thank you. Any comments?
Have we had any comments at the city level with regard to this?
There's some applications that we've had, I believe, Scott? Sure. Prior to, and maybe just speak to whether the applications came prior to the first reading of the bylaw.
Yeah, so we've had a number of inquiries on the number of increased taxi licenses that we would be able to issue. We've had no formal applications yet, and with our population increase and the change to Schedule B, there'd be 3 additional licenses that would be available and for inquiries. So there is some interest in providing added services in this way.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Scott. Okay, all in favor of this bylaw? And that is carried. Be it resolved that the bylaw for number 2204-18 vehicle for hire bylaw be given third and final reading to adjust Schedule B. Mover?
Michael?
Thanks, Michael. Seconder?
Don?
Thank you, Don. All in favor? So done. Be it resolved that Community Services Committee meeting minutes for March the 8th, 2022 meeting be adopted. Mover?
Andrew?
Seconder?
Karina.
Any comments or questions regarding those committee minutes?
It's been fantastic to see that place buzzing. Turf side's been packed. The schedule there is packed. The ice is getting used. The walking track's being used. It's good to see.
Yeah, and I think we should formally acknowledge you, Andrew, for bringing the Manitoba Provincial Under 11 finals here to Winkler.
Yeah.
What an awesome event. Well run, well appreciated, I think, for the people that were there.
Hotels were booked.
Hotels
Hopefully
were
restaurants were
booked.
full.
They were happy.
They were. You did good.
And then the
So-
cherry on top, Winkler won the gold.
Won the
Yeah.
gold.
That was
Can't
fun.
get much better than that.
Yeah.
And the coach is right here. This is a win-win all the way around.
It was fun.
All right.
Thank you for bringing that in.
So, all in favor? And that is carried. Be it resolved, the Explore Morden Winkler meeting minutes for the January 18th and February 8th meetings be received for information. Mover?
Karina.
Seconder?
I can help.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Karina, you want any highlights?
Oh, there may or may not be a poutine week coming up.
Oh, okay.
So you should start fasting now.
Okay.
That's your warning, so,
And you can start the rumor mill?
yeah, just,
That there may or there may not be?
I'll throw it out right
You
away.
got that?
Oh,
You
I
heard
forgot
it-
you were here.
You heard it first here.
But huge congratulations to Explore Morden Winkler for winning the Central Manitoba Marketing Excellence Award. So
Absolutely.
they did an amazing job on Burger Week, and so we have a really great team there that is promoting that, the region as a whole. And I know we had Travel Manitoba come out recently to do a tour of all of our region, and they were very, very impressed. And they started with a list of attractions of less than 10 for our region, and it turned into over 100 very, very quickly. And so it was
Wow.
very nice to have that spotlight and have somebody come out and invest that time to see all of those pieces. So I'm very excited to see how the tourism will grow through this.
Awesome. Thank you for
Yes.
participating.
Yep, of course.
All in favor? And that is carried. Be it resolved that Winkler Arts and Culture meeting minutes for February 15th meeting be received for information. Mover?
Michael?
Seconder?
I can help.
Thanks, Marv. And thanks, Michael. Anything you want to add, Mike?
They're looking forward to things being opened up and having more regular bookings and coffee houses and things along that line to generate some income, some foot traffic, and
Awesome. Okay, thanks for that update. All in favor? And that is carried. Be it resolved, this meeting of council recess for the purpose of holding public hearings. Mover?
Don?
Thanks, Don. Seconder?
Karina.
Karina, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. And the first public hearing is financial plan presentation by David Martins.
So just before we start, this is the financial plan presentation, but just like any other public hearing, if anyone from the public wishes to speak to it, we would just ask that when the presentation is done, you come to the podium and just state your name and address, and then direct your questions or comments to the chair, please.
And just for the audience's benefit, David and Jody and Scott and all the team together has worked on this thing almost since the last one was done. And I know it was a lot of sweat and tears that went into this thing even before October, but being refined further. And David, thank you for your leadership in the financial side of it, and compliments to you in regards to a solid, not only financial plan, but a solid set of books. Thank you. thank you, everybody, for coming.
Absolutely.
Nice to have
Yes.
people here again.
Nice to have you here.
We good? Okay, perfect. Well, welcome everyone to our 2022 financial plan hearing. I do appreciate that you showed up. Very often I talk to chairs, so I do appreciate that you come here to join us for our financial plan hearing. I do welcome everyone that might be watching from home on YouTube as well. So 2022, new year, new budget. And so we'll talk a little bit about our budget, what our budget is for this year, what our major capital projects are for this year at the city, what the impact will be on our tax bill, what the overall changes will be, as well as we will look back a little bit into 2021, just to highlight a few events like the grants and donations we received as the city, but also what kind of growth we had. At the end of the presentation, we will open up the floor for questions, just like Jody said. So the first slide talks a little bit about grants and donations from 2021. And you can see on this slide, we received almost $22 million in 2021 in grants and donations combined. It's a very high number. We're very thankful for that number. Over 21 million came in from the feds and from the province. And a lot of that is allocated towards the wastewater treatment facility, a project that we will talk in this presentation as well. We just received over 16 million from the province in March last year. But you can see also that we received from the community almost 270,000 towards projects that are city run, but we also received over $500,000 in the community for projects that are not city run. So like I said, almost $22 million. I thought that's a number that we should highlight for sure this year. And this also always helps to keep the taxes as low as possible. Without the support, for example, from the feds and from the province, there would be a lot of things that we would not be able to do as we do right now. Talking about growth, these two graphs highlight the residential permits that we had from 2018 to 2021. The left side shows you how many permits got pulled at the city of Winkler. For example, in 2021, we had 58 single-family permits, 37 two-family residential permits that we issued, as well as 27 permits for multifamily. And then on the right side, you see the dollar amount. And that dollar amount increased from 41 in 2020 to a total of 52 million in total permits. This now includes residential as well as commercial. The blue line, as you can see, that's the residential line, but the total was over $52 million in permits itself. So this now, obviously now we saw the growth, and our total assessment base that we use for calculating the taxes grew by another 3.84%. And 2022 was not a reassessment year. Technically, it should have been, but because of COVID, the province canceled the reassessment process and they postponed it now to 2023. So now, because technically the province has every second year is a reassessment year where they reevaluate the assessment of all properties. Now, because of COVID, they didn't, but in 2023 they will do that again. So that's why right now it's sitting at 3.84. During a reassessment year, we're sitting usually around 10 or plus %. And our total assessment is made up by 26% from commercial properties and 61 are residential properties and 13% including churches or schools and so on. Here you can see our new population, or the new census, like Martin mentioned already, is 13,745, and that represents an 8.6% population growth from 2016 to 2021. And the graph below just shows the total assessment base, and the green bar, for example, just almost at $2 billion. That's the total assessment that we have here at the city of Winkler. And then the blue bar shows the residential assessment, just over $1 billion, and then the commercial being the orange one, just around $500 million. So now this is the first time where you can see our new mill rate for 2022 being 13.79. And at this time, doesn't mean a whole lot to us, I guess, but we will later on talk about what that means and how that translates actually to dollar amounts on our property tax bill. The
That
Garden
is-
Valley,
That is not including school division, that's just
yes,
city.
school division, you can see is the orange bar is being 13.12. That's just like Martin said, he just highlighted the letters that we received. So they forward us the notice of requirements, what we need to collect, and then we forward on to the school division. This is their mill rate for 2022, 13.12. So what is our total debt at the city of Winkler? We started this year with just over 27 million of debt. And you can see now the debentures that we have on our books. And the major debentures are the last two, the water treatment facility that we just added last year. We received that money December 31st of 2021, actually on the last day. And then also the Marine Exhibition Center is sitting at just over 14 million. And you can see on that right column then what the final year of each debenture will be. So we will do our last payment on one of our Northlands debentures, sewer debentures. So one of them will come off this year already, but then there's another two that will come off the Red Robin Lane and two more from Northlands sewer that will come off in 2023, Fire Hall in 2024, and then we have the water treatment facility and the Marine Exhibition Center that are locked in for a little bit longer than that. But by the end of this year, we should have a total debt of just over $25 million. And you can see on the right side the average interest rate that we have them locked in, because these debentures are all locked in, not on a variable rate, is 3.68%. These graphs now show you how we moved from in the last 10 years, how our debt changed, how our reserves balance changed, basically our savings that we have, as well as how the budget increased. You can see, if I start with the debt, you can see how it moved down to 2018, and then we added the Marine Exhibition Center debenture, and it was a huge jump. So it brought us almost up to 20 million in debt, and then it went down a little bit again, but now in 2021, we added the wastewater treatment facility debenture, and that brought us up over $25 million. You can see also the reserves, how they moved up, and then in 2021, we have budgeted now that we will see a slight decrease in 2022, and that's because of all the large capital projects that we have on the books, and we will talk about some of them at the end of the presentation. You also see that the budget just goes over the 20 million mark, so it's the first year, this year in 2022, that our budget actually exceeds the 20 million mark. But not all of the 20 million is being levied under taxes, and we will talk about that later on as well. So what to expect now? We talked about mill rate, we talked about budget, we talked about a lot of things, but what does that mean now for us? So like I said, the mill rate is 13.79. That gives the city a budget increase of 9.73%. And the impact on the residential as well as the commercial tax bill is 6.7%. It's the same increase because we did not have reassessment years. Sometimes during a reassessment year, depending on if the assessment for commercial has a different increase or a different change than the residential assessment, the overall tax increase might be different, but for this year, they are the same. And this is now walking you through, if you, let's say you have a house with an assessment of 250,000, I use 250,000, I know these days that seems a little bit low, but on average, the province is 2 years behind of what the actual market is, what houses are selling for. So if you used 250,000 and you would times that by 45%, that would give you the portion assessment. Then you would multiply the mill rate divided by 1,000, and you would come up with the municipal tax. You can do that at home when you receive your tax bill. And then you probably have noticed on your tax bill that starting, I think it was in 2018, that you have that you see a waste fee now. That is not linked to the assessment. It's a flat fee on your residential tax bill. It's the same for every household, $110, and that has not changed since we implemented it in 2018. And that's also because of the support that we receive from the province. We receive large recycling grants back after recycling that Gateway does for us, which helps to keep that amount at a flat amount of $110. So if you add the municipal tax and the waste fee, you come up with in 2022, you would come up with a dollar amount of $1,661.38, which is a $97 increase from the previous year, again representing 6.7%. And on the bottom, I just added that little picture there too. It just shows the assessment. That's a number that we receive from the province. The city has no input on the assessment. We as a city, we determine the mill rate, and that's how we arrive at the actual property tax payable. So what does this $97 represent? I just looked a few things up. It roughly represents 31 medium coffees plus a donut at Tim Hortons. At the current fuel costs that we have, 3 trips to Winnipeg and back, or 7 meals at Subway. But we talked about that the taxes went up by 97 and the total tax bill would roughly be 1,661. But what do I receive actually? As a resident of Winkler, what do I receive back for paying my taxes to the city of Winkler? And so I highlighted, or I put this into a table just to show you where does my money go towards to. So the first one is the general government services. That's basically the department, the finance department, HR department, communications, IT, council. That's where all of those things are being paid out of. Then obviously you have the police service, police department, the fire service, $66 for that. The transportation services, $227, and that represents, for example, snow clearing. I think we all had a lot of snow this year. We were happy each time the grader came by and cleared the snow. And I'm still dealing with snow on my yards, but we were just happy that the snow got cleaned up. And also cutting the grass, for example, patching, all these things are under the transportation services included. Then there's a line for fiscal services. That's where we pay our debentures from. Just what we talked about, the Marriott Exhibition Center, the wastewater treatment facility, all those debentures are being paid from the fiscal services. Then we have also $46 for the planning services, $30 for economic services, $286 for recreation services, including pool, arena, campground, and so on. And then $204 are being transferred to the reserve. So that's an amount that is not necessarily spent this year. We're putting that into our savings account for future capital projects, because we know as a city that has a strong growth, there's always something that needs to happen, and to support a growing community, you need to provide them with enough water. You need to prepare for wastewater, streets, and so on. And then obviously you see the waste disposal fee of $110 in the bottom, totaling again $1,661. So the same thing we talked about, a residential tax bill. I'll give you an example now for a commercial tax bill. Same idea, just the assessment is different. I used $500,000 for this. And then again, to arrive at the portion assessment, you would have to multiply that by 65% instead of 45. So the portion assessment is a little different. But again, then you just multiply it by the mill rate divided by 1,000. That would give you your municipal taxes. This time there's no waste fee, as you can see, since the waste collection is privatized for the commercial and industrial sector. And that again, the difference from 2022 to 2022, 2022 to 2021 is $281, which again represents 6.7%. So we talked about that our budget overall is just over 20 million, and you can see it on top. It's $20,446,108. And I mentioned it before that not the full amount is being levied onto the taxes. Actually, based on this graph, based on the pie chart, it's only 66%. So we as the city of Winkler are able to generate 34%, just over 6.2 million through other revenue. And we will talk about the other revenue on next slide, how that is being made up by. You can see it right here. That $6.2 million is being represented, for example, by 500,000 we are able to generate through added taxes. That basically means as our city grows and a higher tax base is being added to us, we can charge now more homes, you could say, for taxes, which we were not aware of, which were not in the budget before. So that is being added. Then we also have about 360,000 coming in through protective fees and fines. This is mainly the agreement that we have with the Arm of Stanley for fire protection, that we provide fire protection services to the Arm of Stanley. Then you can see over 3 million coming in from the province and from the feds for the gas tax payment that we receive through support that the province provides us for policing, as well as a general operating grant. And then you can see under recreation, culture, and user fees that we receive over 800,000 for that. That's, for example, if you would go to the pool, if you have to pay a small fee for the pool to use it, the arena, campground, but also some sponsorship agreements that we have. You can see almost $1 million in our other revenue, and this is made up by, for example, the recycling grant that I talked about before through MMSM, as well as the rewards payment that we received. That would be included under other revenue. And then you have a $400,000 amount for sales. This is for the industrial lots that the city of Winkler is selling in their Clover Creek area. So we have a budget of $400,000 for that. And then you see investments of almost $700,000. And this is the amount that we have budgeted for to receive as interest on our bank account. Since especially now we received the $16 million from the province of Manitoba, but also our reserves are sitting in our savings account, and that savings interest accumulates to almost $700,000. So this just shows again the total budget, and it shows it in a chart basically, just to illustrate a little bit what is being used by what department, and the next slide will show that in percent as well. But you can see on the bottom, it starts with administration, moving on to police, fire, transportation, and so on. Just gives you a little bit of a picture of what that looks like. But yeah, this is what I was talking about. So our total budget, for example, 12% of our total budget, you could say, is being transferred into the reserve. Then 14% is being used for debt repayment. 12% is used for the administration department, 18% for the police department, 4% for fire, and 30% for transportation services, and 14% for recreation and culture services. And then you have some smaller departments like the economic services, planning services, health, cemetery services, and the waste disposal, making up 3, 3, 1, and 4% respectively. So now we want to talk a little bit about our utility budget. So far we talked about our general tax budget, which is levied onto the tax bill, but there's also utility charges, which you see through your water bills that you receive on a quarterly basis. And our total budget is $4,156,728. So that's our total budget on the utility side. The revenue matched the expenses. And then I highlighted a few of our major projects on the utility side, what we are planning to do this year. Some of this replace some of our utility equipment, to do a repair at the George Street Reservoir, to do an expansion at our water treatment plant, as well as install our water line and do some sewer relining and manhole restoration, totaling a total of $1.78 million. I also would like to highlight just our employees a bit. In 2021, we had 92 full-time employees. We had 19 police officers. We had 8 part-time employees, 4 casual employees, 27 seasonal employees, 28 firefighters, and that labor cost basically represents 41% of our total operating budget and $8.3 million. So now we move on to the projects. The largest projects on our books for this year is the wastewater treatment facility at a total construction cost of just over $48 million. The total funding that we as a city of Winkler are able to receive is just over $38 million, and then the city's portion would be just around 10.6. This is the debenture that I was just mentioning before already, the money that we received already last year on December 31st, sitting in our bank account already, but it's just around 10.6. And then the construction of a treatment plant is being estimated between 2022 to 2024, could change to 2023, 2025, depending on when we can start. Another project would be that we want to expand our Clover Creek industrial lot area going out east. So we want to install a frontage road along Highway 14 at a total cost of $1.14 million. Then we want to also connect Highway 14 to Northlands Parkway, basically extend Park Street, and we have a total budget of $800,000 for that. Then we also have 2 water projects, like I mentioned before, the George Street Reservoir repair, as well as the water treatment plant expansion phase 1. And both of these projects have a budget of $850,000. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. I would like to open up the floor for questions, and I'm sure we were happy to answer them. Thank you.
Well done, David, thank you.
It's a lot
I'm
of
sure
numbers.
some of you have some questions.
And this presentation will be on our website tomorrow.
I just was checking with the deputy mayor here. The issue in regards to the wastewater treatment plant, we are not totally to the end of that game. Matter of fact, we are right smack dab in the middle of the heat of the battle. And the heat of the battle is primarily because of potentially some changes in the value of the project due to current circumstances. So I don't want anybody to walk away here thinking that those are the final numbers for the wastewater treatment plant. The rest of it is still in process. We have no idea what that number is, how much the provincial or federal or who else might join in on that game, how that is funded. But I would just like to say that for our protection, we are not giving you a bill of goods here that is totally final on that project. So I like to be upfront in front of the game rather than trying to explain it later. And if that prompts any questions. We just don't have those numbers firm enough as to what our portion will be that I can talk about that piece of it yet, but hopefully within the next week or so we might get there.
Well, I would like to thank you for certain parts of it that make this a practical one. Like, most of us have no idea what 20 million would look like for our personal selves. But when you look at it, how much does my tax bill and how is it divided in terms of fire protection or services in here? And I think we can relate to that. I would just challenge a little bit your figure on a trip, 3 trips to Winnipeg. That with the price of fuel now, it might be a little fewer.
No, that was in a Geo Metro.
Yeah. Well, it's, as you can see, it's quite the challenge to get to this point, and it's not something we take lightly. And this is what we have come up with, and as council would be recommending. So if there's no other questions, now's your time. If not, I want to thank you for coming. And therefore be it resolved that the public hearing for the 2022 financial plan be closed. Mover?
Karina.
Karina, thank you. Seconder?
Marvin?
Marvin, thank you. And all in favor? And that is carried. Be it resolved that the financial plan and capital budget for 2022 be approved. Mover?
Henry Siemens?
Seconder?
Andrew?
Thank you. And those are the people that are on our finance committee together with myself, and obviously David and Jody sit in on that one as well. So thank you for your services there. All in favor? And that is carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2280-22 be given first reading.
Henry Siemens?
And a seconder?
Andrew?
And that is a bylaw that gives us the authority to impose a tax levy. Any further questions regarding that one? Hearing none, all in favor? That is carried. That means the city can carry the year forward and pay their bills and spend the money. Any questions from the media? Okay, out the back, okay. There's nothing else. Again, thank you so much for coming, and therefore
Very
be it
much.
resolved, this regular meeting of council be adjourned. Mover?
Gone.
Don?
Karina.
Karina? Thank you. All in
You're
favor?
welcome.
And that is carried. Thank you again very much for
Yes,
coming.
thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate